It's time for, hello, a Jersey Shore recap podcast. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, we're back.
We are back for more recaps of your favorite original version of Jersey Shore. And I'm your host, GWOW.
And I'm Cookie, and together we're Cookie and GWOW.
And we recap Jersey Shore, and we're in for a bittersweet treat today. This is episode 8 of season 4, and it's called Where's My Boyfriend? Where's my boyfriend?
This is the episode I remembered the most clearly from this season. It's pretty dark.
This, I feel like, is just as heavy as the episode with Mike putting his head into the wall. And I think that's why I think with Italy overall, I'm so like traumatized by this season in a way, because I'm like, there's violence, there's these heart-wrenching like breakups, not breakups, but like couples fights, and it's just a lot. And so I would say, yeah, I remember her running down the streets of Florence, and I remember the wall, and we've reached them both now with this episode, Where's My Boyfriend?
Definitely. And this whole episode is really crazy, even outside of the boyfriend stuff, because it starts off right off the bat where we left off in the last episode, which is Snooki and Dina with the cops after they hit a cop car. And they didn't have their licenses on them. And so they had to call the guys back at the house to run them over, but the guys didn't get there in time. And so the cops took them away and they arrested them.
Yeah, when we come back, Snooki's getting breathalyzed and they're getting put in the back of a cop car while they're crying. And the boys are trying to get there. It's like a race, but there's, I guess, like traffic and stuff. And they get there as the car is being towed. But at that point, the girls had already been taken in, and so had the car. And so it became like Free Snooki Part 2, the Italian version, pretty much. And I think they spent like 2 hours in the Italian jail before they were allowed out. So like it could have been worse, but I'm sure that was a little traumatizing, because when you're in another country, like you just don't know quite as well how it's going to go the way you might in your home country. I don't know.
Yeah, no, like you do not want to get arrested in another country. And I mean, I don't think Italy is known for being particularly, but still, you never just you want to avoid trouble in other countries as much as possible. So I agree, that must have been a really scary thing. And it was an accident. I mean, they didn't really mean to hit the cop and they weren't drinking.
Right. She's still no longer allowed to drive in Italy and has to pay some fines. So it's like not, it's a big enough deal for that, I guess.
And this is a moment where like Mike can't take anything seriously. He's always kind of being a goofball, because as they're waiting for the girls to get out, it was just a quick thing in passing, but Mike was standing like by a barred window and pounding on it going, "Let me out," which I just thought was so funny, because he can never take anything seriously. They're waiting for their friends to get out of jail and he's playing.
You're right. Maybe he's like high though. Like who knows with all his like drug stuff. I just like never know.
Well, it reminded me of Kim, stop taking selfies. Your sister's in jail for the early
sister's
Kardashians.
going to jail. Oh my God, no, same energy for sure. That's so funny. So Nicole, after she gets out of jail, she calls Gianni to tell him about the accident. And I really only bring this up because she mentions Roger not coming in this phone call with Gianni. And I'm kind of like, are these scenes acting, or was there a point maybe where like Roger actually didn't think he could get off work, and then at last minute he could, and that's why he was in Italy, which would have been a great storyline. So like I don't know why they didn't go with that. But I'm like, because we know about Roger now, I'm like hyper tuned into when he gets mentioned prior to him really the whole season. And so it's weird for me to hear Snooki mention to Gianni that Roger's not gonna be coming.
I know, I thought the same thing. I was almost like, was he there? And then they decided to cut him out, so they added in an explanation. I don't know, but I do know that I feel like they probably only cut him out because he was just like they just had a decent time, and then it was just boring. Like it would have been fun for Jenny, but boring to watch. Like maybe just nothing happened.
I
and
guess I
you
just,
just cut it
as
for
the
time.
viewer, even if there was no drama, like even just like Jenny fucking, that's already enough of a storyline. Like Jenny having sex, and if her
Mm,
boyfriend comes, they're going to have sex. And so I definitely don't understand. I would love for a producer. Well, I know there's some in the Reddit areas, but I would love for them to explain why that choice
mm.
happened, because I don't really see it as a good one, especially when like what was it adding or taking away if Gianni's already going to Italy? Like what difference would
Yeah.
be like Gianni and Roger are here? Like what? And also, if they were there at the same time, wouldn't that make it more compelling of why Jenny's like running down the street for I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but like later on when all the drama happens and Jenny's like running down the street trying to chase Gianni later in this episode, is Roger like at the club still? Or like was Roger not there at this time at all? Because wouldn't Roger being friends with Gianni have like gotten involved in this somehow? Like it's so confusing to me and I want more information.
No, absolutely. And these kind of Reddit like leaks, I guess, or the information we've gotten years later, rewatching the show, it makes you feel like I almost feel like they could release a whole new show that's like a director's cut version where it's all the same uh trips, but like a whole new storyline. I really feel like they could do that. Like if they're like, no Ron and Sam stuff, let's make a whole new
Wow.
storyline. Like I feel like they have enough footage that they could do that. Because realistically, like if a group of people are together for 2 months or however a month or two, like there's a lot going on. So they'd have to pick one main storyline to stick with. There must have been so much going on that we didn't see. I'm just very curious. Like I have FOMO. I wish I could have been there. I wish I was a fly on the wall.
Yeah, maybe it really was a matter of just like, hey, you only can cut 40 something minutes, plus the commercials. So you have
Yeah,
42 minutes and they were maybe they were at like, oh, we have so much content. We're at 48. Well, we can cut these couple scenes with Roger and that'll make us make cut. Like maybe it really was that
mm,
simple and we're like thinking too deep about it. I don't
I think
know.
so. Well, that's what we're
Um,
here for. What else is a recap podcast for,
true.
other than to overanalyze?
Dissection and dissemination.
Yes.
Well, okay, so Dina, back to like their plot here. Obviously, like she's gotten out of jail, and I think she's really in her getting really drunk era. So for another
Mm.
for the next another time, because this isn't the first time she does this, she says drinking will help. So she's getting ready to go out, which Nicole makes the decision to stay home because I think she's like at her like peak of stress right now, and I think
Yeah.
she's like really anxious. But Jenny, Sam, and Dina go to somewhere called Astor, and the boys go out to space.
Right.
While they're out, Nicole is on the phone with Gianni, and Brittany is back and is ringing the doorbell incessantly. And so Nicole like gets this idea, which I think already sounds like a horrible prank, where she's like, I'm gonna let Brittany in. And when Mike gets home, she's gonna just be here in his bed, which I'm like, ooh, like what kind of a prank is that? Like, yeah, you got him, but the Brittany and Snooki confessionals are fucking hilarious.
Yeah, she was like, you know what? I know Mike really well, and he won't say it to you, but what he wants is for you to show up every day, call him every day, like just never leave him alone. He wants that really bad. That was
Okay,
funny.
and that could be funny if like I mean that is I think that part of it's funny, but sh- putting her in Mike's bed when Mike just wants to have sex with somebody, I'm like you just helped like you just wingmaned him.
I
But all
think
the
that's a
girls think it's a
case.
good prank too, so maybe I don't know, you were like on the girl side I feel more.
Well, you know what? I feel like it's just a case of them not understanding how the guy's mentality when it comes to sex and hooking up. Because
Mm.
I think in Snooki's mind and in the girl's mind, they're like, oh, he's gonna be so embarrassed that he brought a girl home and there's another one here. Like, it's gonna be humiliating for him. But in his mind, he unfortunately, he wasn't really looking at them as people. He was just looking to have sex with
Mm-hmm.
anybody who was willing. And so he could care less. He was like, there's someone DTF in my bed. So he sends the girl he came home with and hooked up with Brittany.
Yeah.
So Snooki did him a favor.
Savage.
She
Right.
did him a
I
favor.
mean, he gave her Snooki gave him a guaranteed thing when he brought
Right.
home a maybe. And so he just said, well, fuck the maybe. Why would I not go with the guaranteed thing? And that's where the plan really backfires. But like Brittany is fucked up, dude. Like, I know I've mentioned their like alcohol problems and stuff, but holy shit, like that to me would have been concerning, especially because I don't think like Nicole is drinking in these scenes. So I would have maybe been
Right.
like, girl, you need to like, I don't know. They're also desensitized because
Yeah.
everybody drinks that hard. So they don't see how excessive it really is. It's like more normalized, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's just a different time. This whole show is very much a product of its time. Like that I don't think that would fly like that exact scene would play out so differently today. Um,
Yeah.
but this is one of those things where now watching it with new eyes, because at the time I would have just accepted it like when I originally watched it, I would have just accepted it for what it was. But now looking back, I'm like, the producers called her. They sent her over. She didn't just show up,
Oh,
right? It must have been.
I think it's a mix of both. I think on one hand, the producers are like, oh, we always have like, these girls that the guys kind of mess with, hook up with, whatever. Like there's been reoccurring characters in other seasons. And I also
Mhm.
think though that the twins really are like drinkers that are in school in Italy. And this was just like them being 365 party girls.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so like hyper vigilant about that because let me tell you, you remember that little show Unreal? I was just thinking about that.
Yes.
That
Oh, great
show,
show.
it was a great show, but it changed my whole perspective on reality TV and it makes me feel like it almost gives me an overinflated sense of knowing because now every time ever since
Mm.
then, what was that like 5 years ago now? Ever since I watched that show, now when I watch reality TV, I'm like, "Oh, I know. Producer meddling. I see it." Like I think I'm so smart now.
No, so funny. And because I'm editing our podcast and my other podcast, sometimes I catch tricks with editing on TV where like
Mm.
somebody, the camera will be on someone and they're saying something. And then it goes to someone else and the camera's on someone else. And I can catch that the audio just sounds a little bit different. And it's because it's from another time that they said something, maybe even about somebody else, but they've spliced it in there and then it goes back and they're still talking. And you, as the viewer, can't tell that that audio has been clipped, but I can because I've done it.
Well, yes, and that does happen all the time, but once in a while they're kind of sloppy with it and then just
Yeah.
it's like messy. And I'm gonna play it's from a different show, it's from RuPaul's Drag Race, but I'm gonna play my favorite little bad editing where they tried to splice things and it just was a mess. Where is
Mm-hmm.
it?
You know what show does that a lot? Catfish on MTV. Also, the new season of Jersey Shore does it. Like when Ron was talking
Mm,
about Sammy being back, one of his sentences was so spliced, he sounded like a robot. And I was like, okay, surely you could have just called him in to redo this line. Like, surely you could have been Ron, hey, can you say this real quick before you leave? Because it was so badly edited. And I'm like, MTV, I know you a better budget than this. I know you do.
you know what? I think sometimes that they just are like the general public won't notice, and if they do, who gives a fuck? Like whatever. At this point,
I
I feel like
guess
they're
like
lazy
TV's
because they're
TV.
like everybody knows people watch in spite of knowing it's all kind of fake anyways, so like they just don't care. Like the
It's
illusion is
entertainment.
gone, so just
Yeah.
fuck it. This is what I found. I finally found it. This is from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Alaska, I finally got to listen to Anus, and I get it, because it sounds like what my anus does after eating Mexican.
Oh my God.
Why?
That's so bad. After eating Mexican, like so different. What girl?
I feel like maybe she said like Taco Bell or Chipotle, and they had to cut it because like the
Oh,
brand.
I can see that. That
But
makes
they
sense,
did not
actually.
do a
That
good
makes
job.
sense. But yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah. And
a
like,
different microphone in a different room.
but if it's something like that where it's a copyright thing and not like manipulating a plot line, why not just call Tatiana back to do a re-record or like I feel like there's a name in the industry for these things where they call you back to like
ADR.
exactly,
Yeah.
thank you. Like so why not just have her if you're not reproducing, like if it truly is just a copyright thing. I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
Mexican. Okay. Well, with that said, I think we're at a good point for a break.
Yeah, let's take a break. Mexican.
It's funny because it sounds like it was recorded with a phone like 10 feet away in a different room. It's so
Maybe that
off.
is they were like, can you just say Mexican into my phone real quick and we'll like splice it in?
That's what I'm saying. I think sometimes they're lazy about it, where they're just like, I just fucking record it on your phone. Who cares? Like maybe she's already at home.
Right? So funny.
can't get enough of Hello?
Never.
Well, check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok at Hello Pod.
And if you are listening to us, but you'd rather be watching, you can go to patreon.com/hello. There's also going to be tons of bonus content, including bonus episodes and behind the scenes, like how I got my Snooki pove.
And last but not least, if you're a brand or you just want to give us money, send us an email, a professional email at hellopod@gmail.com.
All right, let's get back to the show already.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. We're back. And Gianni is almost here.
Yes, it's the next day. Nicole is nervous and she's prepping for Gianni to get there. She's so anxious. And in the midst of this, Jenny calls quote unquote Roger, which again, I'm like, is this produced? And I wonder if like she was actually on the phone with her dad. And I still don't know, was Roger there at the same time as Gianni? Because if he was, he would have been like on a plane. But then maybe not, because how weird would it be to be like, hey, you and Gianni have to have separate entrances so we can cut you out of filming? I don't know. It's also confusing me, but I just wonder if that's not Roger on the phone.
I really just think the Roger thing, I really think he just couldn't make it then and he wasn't there because like Jenny was sleeping alone. There was footage of her waking up the next morning alone. So I just
that could have been spliced in from any time.
No, I think he just didn't make it then, and then maybe he came like a week later or something, and then it was just kind of boring, so they cut it for time. Like I don't think there's any reason beyond just it wasn't an interesting trip. That's my take on it, because at the time I think they were in a good place. Like I don't think there was like some crazy thing that they wanted to cut out of fear of getting in trouble or anything. I think it was just boring.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think her Roger are like solid for years at this point. Like they're going to be solid through years and marriage and children. It's not going to blow up till later. So maybe that is just the case. It's just like not fun.
Because I do know sometimes reality shows will only cut things if they feel like it could get them in legal trouble. And so like, you know what show used to cut stuff all the time was Bad Girls Club. Like I think there was one season where one cast,
which is crazy, can I just say, because so much stuff that is aired is nuts. So that's already insane that they have to cut anything, because that show's wild.
I think I might be remembering wrong, but I think a cast member stabbed somebody on the show one time and they cut it out.
I believe it. In season 1, I think it was when that girl Riley gets like alcohol poison drunk and is running around like an alcohol. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen on TV, and obviously would never fly today. Just wild.
When you know that show got sued fiercely finally. I can't believe it took so long. It was after like 17 seasons, but they got sued. And that's part of why they ended it, because they lost the lawsuit.
I'm not surprised
that's
at all.
A major tangent, but
so Nicole is waiting for Gianni, and the guys are kind of like teasing her, and they're like, oh, we think we hear something. And I just love the way she goes, shut up. No, you're lying. She's just so cute.
She is cute. She's so excited. She's anxious, but like excited, anxious. And she's running back and forth between this big tall mirror and her room, trying on different outfits. And it's sort of sad when you know it's going to happen, because you're like, this is like her last super excited moment this season. It gets dark after this, and it stays dark.
It definitely feels like, I don't know, you have so much hope for her. And even when like he finally does ring the doorbell, like she like jumps up and runs down the stairs, and she's crying as they embrace, as if they I mean, listen, they have been a while like away from each other for a while, but it's still a little bit of like a girl, you just saw him a couple weeks ago. Like it is, I don't know, but she's crying, and then she immediately wants to go to the smush room, which listen, I'm not knocking the fact that if she really wants to immediately grab him and start like bumping uglies, sure girl, go get your zhuzh, like no worries there. But my question is like, okay, if you thought there was even a chance of that happening, why didn't you set up the smush room ahead of time? Like the smush room is not set up. She has to go and make up the bed in the smush room. And I'm like, what were you doing before? You run around the house making yourself look good. Did you not think to put fresh sheets on before he got there, when you were just waiting around for him?
That's the thing. I think she was just so anxious. She just didn't think of it. Like she probably walked in there and was like, oh, I feel like she just didn't think of it. She was
I
so
mean, I would have.
frantic.
I'm such a planner in that way. I would have been like, no, I need to make sure that
too.
everything is done before they get here. I don't know.
Me too. And let me ask you this. I just realized now, this is what, episode 8? I just
Mhm.
realized now that the Smush Room has like a glass door or wall. That's interesting. It's like a frosted glass door. I didn't notice that before.
I don't think I noticed it either. As like its door to the room.
Yeah, I think I might be remembering wrong, but it's like a weird room. Like I feel like it's
I
like
have to
not a real
rewatch
room or
and look.
something. I don't know.
It's like their makeshift Smush
I don't
room.
know. It just looked different. It was different from the other because all the other rooms have those big heavy wood doors. Someone was like, was this added on later? Maybe not even by production, but just like, is this like, I don't think it's original to the apartment. It looks like modern. I just didn't notice that before is all. I might be remembering wrong. Am I crazy? I'll correct myself later if I'm wrong.
I don't know. I'll double check. But so Gianni showers and then they smush. I think Nicole mentioned something about his wiener being tan. Does that mean he's tanning naked?
I don't think. Okay. I don't think it's actually tanned. Some guys just have dark penises and balls. Sometimes they just look darker than the rest of their body.
Tan individual. So
I'll just say this. As a gay man who's seen a lot of penises, when I look at him, I believe that it would be dark. I can see that. Some people do and some people don't. It depends. And it doesn't really have anything to do with ethnicity or race. Some people just have it matches the rest of their skin, and some people it's darker. That's just a thing.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm with
Although
it.
he could be tanning naked. Can you tan like fully naked? Yeah, right? You can. Do people do that?
Well, I would say this, if you go to a tanning salon, like they're like, okay, here's your room, see you later. And like, I mean, you're supposed to have underwear on, but who's like stopping anybody? You know, like
yeah.
I always wear like a G-string or something, but like I'm pretty sure a lot of people tan just like bare naked, and that's why you're supposed to wipe him down also. Because even in a thong, like someone's ass is still on there.
Would you remember Snooki got out of one all itchy one time? She got
when she put her ass in the fridge. That was so funny. So they're getting ready to go out, and Mike. We have to get Mike back into the Mike drama because Mike is like in this crazy paranoid state now that Gianni's here, and he's like spitting so much BS, and I don't really understand where it's coming from. He's like, oh, like he better watch and like all this stuff, and it's definitely some sort of weird like paranoia, and I don't really understand why he can't, even when they're at the club, like things are going well at first, but he can't stop running his mouth, and he's like just like in this weird paranoid bubble state. I don't have an explanation for it. It's just weird.
No, it's coming off kind of manic, and he's like in his own world. And as the night goes on, he becomes, and we'll talk about, everything that he says, but he kind of becomes more unhinged as time goes on. Like it almost becomes
in the whole season even.
Yeah.
And this bleeds heavily into season 5, I think. Like we're so far away from the Mike paranoia being over, and I know we're not even done with it this season, because I remember the scene, or at least we've seen in previews, like Snooki throwing the bottle, and that hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to end this episode. But I just like, this is just the beginning rumblings of how big of a much bigger paranoia that's going to just like continue to grow. And I feel like it is just a lot of like drugs. It's manic, like you said. It's not normal.
No, and we'll definitely talk more about that later because it comes into play a little bit later. But outside of that, in this moment, Nicole and Gianni, they're having fun at first because they go to 2 clubs throughout the night. And at the first club, there's not really any problems. Like they're having fun, they're dancing, they're drinking. It seems like a good time. But then the problems start to come when they switch clubs. So I think we should probably take a break, and then maybe we'll talk about that after.
Yes, sounds good.
All right, well, we will be back.
Welcome to Sapphic Survival Guide.
My name is Cheyenne.
I'm Gina.
Class is now in session.
How do you define queer style?
How do you communicate that you don't want to U-Haul at all?
Right, as literally every queer woman I meet hate Geminis.
How do I deal with the most devastating breakup I've ever been through? Sapphic Survival Guide.
We're happy to be queer to answer your questions.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello!
We're back, and things are about to get ugly.
Yeah, Nicole is drunk, which should be fine. Honestly, everything in this scene should be fine or should at least not create the drama that it does. But Nicole's drunk. She's really drunk, like, I'm sorry, Snooki does, because that's who she is.
That part.
She is drunk. She is dancing. She's happy. Okay. I'm already in defense mode. We haven't even said what happened. I'm already defending her like she's my client. She's a happy drunk girl whose boyfriend just got to Italy, and she's excited and she's happy and she's dancing, and she decides that she wants to show off her body a little bit. She's acting crazy and she's trying, honestly, to flirt with her boyfriend. She's like, look at this. You're going to get this later.
That's the vibe I got too.
Yep, it's one of the, and I got Gianni's that vibe too. Not into it. I hate this. Ugh.
I got the vibe, the way she was acting, like being sexy. I didn't get the vibe she was trying to show out for the club. My interpretation was she's been talking all season about how attracted she is to her boyfriend, how he makes her hot, and she wanted to, she was excited to have sex with him. So, in her mind, she's so, excited to be in his presence. And I think she's like, we're the only two people in the room. I know we're in a club, but I'm performing for you. This is for you. But he doesn't see it that way. He's just embarrassed
and I'm like, listen, you can get mad, but his reaction is through the roof. What he should have done is gone over to her, pulled her skirt down, and said, hey, I know you're excited, but you got to chill a bit. Okay. Just a little bit. I love you. Just relax a little bit, because you're getting a little crazy. And the whole night could have been different. Instead, he's so mad, he throws all of her stuff at her and just takes off out of the club. And it's infuriating to me because I don't want to go off on my own whole tangent about this, but relationships should not be that fragile. I don't know if you know what I mean by a fragile relationship, but it should not take 12 seconds to destroy your relationship when you're both there not really doing anything wrong. That's not the kind, it should not take something this small to be a big bomb that tears apart your relationship. Because when he takes off, she goes right into panic mode because she's aware oh, this could be a reason that he doesn't want to be with me anymore. And I can't imagine being in a relationship that has that kind of stress on it. How stressful that you think, oh, if I act one wrong way, everything we have is going to be done. That's crazy.
Yeah. No,
that's
absolutely.
Not a space to be living in.
Absolutely. And I can't stop going back to, you're dating Snooki and you're on the show that made Snooki famous. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? Why are you surprised?
I'm sure at this point she's had a conversation with him that's hey, I have to drink a lot when I'm filming because that's part of the gig.
Yeah.
Right? So what are you not signed up for, Gianni?
And I think this is a conversation that's changing over time. And I think we're in a different place now today, even than we were when this was filming. But I feel like we are past this idea that when you get married, you have to somehow become this Puritan. I think you should be who you are outside of the marriage. When you get married or when you get into a serious relationship, you continue being who you are, and maybe you mature together, or you change over time naturally. But you shouldn't just I'm a party girl. Oh, but I have a serious boyfriend now, so I just have to stop and wear a habit and be a nun. You know what I mean? You're dating Snooki. If you're not attracted to Snooki, especially when you're on the Jersey Shore, you shouldn't be dating her. If that's such a big turnoff to you, you're dating the wrong person. And you said it before. If he felt like she took it a little too far, because I don't know if we said what actually pushed him over the line. She pulled her dress up below her bra and was showing her kind of lower stomach and her underwear. But that's she's a party girl. She's partying. I don't know.
Dina showed a lot more at another party. I don't know. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. And Jenny kind of takes off after Gianni. Nicole is not far behind, but she's falling. She is so not in the shoes to be chasing after a man through the streets of Florence, Italy. That is for sure.
Yeah, well, the Florence, Italy specifically, with those goddamn cobblestone, ancient, old-timey roads.
Right. Yup. And Nicole's yelling after him. Ron's involved in trying to help. Jenny's trying to like calm Nicole down while Ron like goes after Johnny to try and talk to him. It doesn't really work. But like Jenny is trying to calm Nicole, and they're the like Nicole's in panic mode, just full panic mode. And so that's when we get the like screaming at each other where she's like, well, where is he going, Jenny? And Jenny's like, he's running away from you. And it's hard to watch. And they're not like communicating wonderfully, obviously, but it's the emotions are so high. It really hurts my heart. Like, and Nicole's like sobbing, and it's hard. It's hard to watch it go down.
It is. Well, and especially there comes a time, I think, when she accepts that he's ran off, and she kind of stops looking for him, and she just fully breaks down. Like, she is weeping. She is a drunken mess. And I can't help but think, I mentioned this earlier in the season, I feel like they were set up for failure a little bit. The whole cast, having them be in Italy, in a place where they weren't wanted. The city was not happy that they were there. The locals were not happy that they were there. And so they're running through a foreign country, wasted, falling on the ground, weeping, screaming at the top of her lungs. It's just not a good scene. And the whole thing kind of like just makes me uncomfortable.
I know. And she's like pleading with the girls, like, why would he do this to me? Why is he doing this to me? And it makes me emotional to watch. Like, I just like it already, I'm already someone who has a hard time watching someone cry on TV and not getting like emotional myself. Like, that's kind of person I am. Like, I can't, it's hard for me to watch anybody, even in person, cry and not cry. But like, her screams and cries just break my heart. And they get a cab home because she can't just keep screaming and yelling in the middle of Italy. Jenny's chasing him down the street. She's kicked her heels off to try and keep up with him. So she's running down the streets of Florence, Italy, barefoot to try and get this man. Everybody goes home, and like, it's this awkward like limbo where nobody knows what to do, and like Dina's trying to help, Vinny's trying to like reason with Snooki, and it's just so uncomfortable. And like I said, like, relationships really shouldn't be this fragile. And I've definitely been there where I've had a partner, like a boyfriend, that I don't like the way he's acting, and I just like want more than anything to just like shake him and be like, stop, but you can't do anything about it, and he's just like hurting you, and you're like, what, why are you doing this? And that's why it's so gut-wrenching, because I feel like if you've ever really been hurt by somebody for no reason and you're just like, why, like, that's the feeling that you're left with. And it's so, like I said, hard to watch.
It is hard to watch, and I can't help but relate to how devastating and confusing it is when you're punished for being yourself. Like, this isn't a situation where she did something to hurt him or did something wrong. She just embarrassed him by being Snooki, by being herself. And we'll get into it because she kind of has a conversation with herself in the next episode. So we'll talk more about how it affected her later. But I can't help but think of like how many relationships like this can destroy people forever, like, or really hurt people in the long run, where it makes you question yourself and your own behaviors. So like, I don't know, it's like,
I feel like it would give me abandonment issues. I'd be always afraid that I'm going to do something and this person's going to run off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I'm having fun, but am I having too much fun that I'm going to scare my partner? That's the thing too, is if you're punished for having a good time, that'll fuck you over in the long run. Because like, well, how much fun is too fun? Am I allowed to be myself? So
can I laugh? Can I smile? It's like manipulative. It's kind of like, I don't like it. Nobody knows what to do. Jenny gets home without Gianni, and so they kind of like start making food, and they're just kind of like waiting because he can't just be out on the streets forever. Like, his suitcase is there. He finally rings, and this also breaks my heart because Nicole like sprints up and runs to let him in and starts running down the stairs, like, you know, those infamous stairs. She starts running down, and he's running up, and they like meet right in the middle, and she's like ready to talk and be like, hey, you're back, like whatever, and he just blows right past her and is like not even looking at her, ignores her completely, goes and locks himself in the bathroom. And I'm just like, oh, now you're back and you're just causing problems again. Just go back out then. Like, he's such a problem in this era. And I know they worked it out now and they're married and happy and whatever. But oh my God, do I hate him in this episode.
Well, this scene specifically, this is the first time when I was like, oh, they have kids together that might see this one day. Because this scene broke my heart.
Oh my God, Cookie.
There's kids and they're getting older. The oldest now is what, like 10, 11? How old is she?
Think about that.
Or he? What's their oldest? Who's
Lorenzo.
Lorenzo, yes. He's getting up there in age. Eventually
God.
he's gonna be curious. Mm-hmm.
And imagine like you're Gianni and you're like, listen, I don't stand by everything that's in this episode if you're gonna watch it. Like,
well, this is the moment that I think that at the very end that was kind of the saddest for me was he's in the bathroom, like locked in there, and she's outside like begging him to talk to her and to stop being mad at her, and he's like berating her through the door and saying she was being a whore, and he's embarrassed, and he out of respect for himself he has to leave. And so that whole scene was just like, just watching her allow herself to be berated is tragic. It's really sad to see. And I just can't help but think of like, and also like not even just the kids, like like they have to look their in-laws in the face knowing that this happened and was televised. You know what I mean? Like their whole families. So I can't. Man, this is a weird way to start a marriage.
I'm surprised they came out on the other side of this. Honestly,
right. This is I almost feel like the televised aspect would make it so like we can't get back together after that. Like I'm too embarrassed. But I'm
honestly shocked. I'm honestly shocked that things worked out for them and they're still together.
They must have this ability. I feel like you'd have to be on a show like that. They must have, especially Nicole. She must have this ability to like compartmentalize and like, that's not real. I was at work.
Yeah.
Stuff that happens off camera is real. So if we fought, it doesn't matter. Like, I wonder if that's kind of the mentality you'd have to have.
I mean, they are young too. I don't know if like that plays into it. Like this was, really like this was in 2011. This was when this aired. So I don't know. Well, I don't know. Listen, well, so what else happens? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he gets his bags and he just kind of leaves without saying anything to anybody. And the first thing I noticed is how smug Mike looks as he's leaving, as Gianni's leaving. Because Mike was ready to fight the whole night.
I hate that. I hate it. Mm-hmm. I don't like
Mike
the Mike
was so excited this was
I don't
happening.
like that he's leaving. And what I also don't like is that like they're in that bathroom fighting. She like finally walks away and goes to lay in her bed and she's like crying. And that's when he kind of like sneaks out. And then she realizes that he's gone, like after he's already left. So she starts trying to chase after him. And if maybe it was the editing, but if it were me, I would be watching this back. Like, this is a fucked up perspective to have, but I'm just so in like empathy with Nicole right now. I'd be watching that back like, oh my God, if I'd gotten up just a couple minutes sooner, I could have caught him before he left. And that regret would have ate me alive. And she's crying in the videos and the confessionals and like, I don't know. It all like just sucks so much. And I didn't feel good watching it all. And I can't wait for it to be over because I know there's more of it in the next episode.
Well, yeah, the whole next episode is really just the sort of aftershock of that night. So it's not over. But we'll talk about that next week because it's more mess. It's less tragic next week, but it's still just messy.
The one lighthearted, like laughable comment that happens in the scheme of all of this is that Sam gets a new perspective on couples fighting from seeing this. And she goes, no, after seeing this, I get it, you guys. Like, I'm sorry. And that sent me. But
you know what? Sam was receptive because she was very like, oh, I get it now. I see now.
It was so genuine. She's like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I get it now. Oh my God. That was so funny. We also have our cookie quote, which is a little lighthearted moment. I'll be honest, it was hard to find this in this episode, but this is all the way back when we were hopeful about Gianni's visit. And so Nicole and Jenny are getting ready and they just have a little funny moment with some self-tanner. So do you want to be Snooki or JWoww?
I think I'll be JWoww. That's okay.
Okay.
I'll start. Boo.
Man, I'm freaking out.
Why?
I don't know.
Don't freak out. Your man's almost here. Must be nice. Spread your legs. I'm going in.
That she sprays her vagina with self-tanner? Like,
that's the best friend right there. Who else is going to do that for
because he had the tan wiener. They gotta have like matching tan genitals.
Not the matching tan genitals. Oh, we forgot to say scene. And scene. Not the matching tan genitals. That's hilarious.
I mean, like
Ew.
couples costume. I don't know. Anyway. Well,
all right.
people,
Well, that's it for this week.
Tune in next week because we're so far from done with this little. We got to get past this little tiff here and get into the rest of the good stuff with Italy. So tune in next week, please.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you then. But for now, this is goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello.
Goodbye.
If you want more of the podcast, you can follow us on any social media at Hello Pod.
We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/hello. We've got a video feed there so you can see our beautiful faces while we recap Jersey Shore. And we've also got a little bit of behind the scenes bonus content for you.
And you can find me anywhere online at The Libregina, including my website, thelibregina.com.
And you can find me online on TikTok and Instagram at angel.iconic.music.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.